you defaulted back. And within 30 seconds, you had a whole story about what that means. The relapse isn't what's keeping you stuck. The story is. The old identity doesn't need to win every round. It just needs to write the story after it loses. Welcome to Daily Power Boost. I'm Sean Michael. This isn't a podcast about pushing harder or fixing yourself. It's a space to see clearly how your experience is actually being created. Each episode offers a simple shift in understanding, not a tactic, not a hustle, a clearer view of thought, identity, and the patterns you've been living inside. Because when misunderstanding drops, relief rises, energy returns. You move forward with calm, sovereign clarity. This is your daily power boost. The good news is you didn't fail. You just narrated yourself back into who you used to be. The behavior happened. Maybe it was the old avoidance pattern, that old way of showing up, the one you promised yourself you were done with. It might have lasted 10 minutes, could have been 2 hours, but it was over. The actual damage of that moment, the real cost, it wasn't the behavior. It was the story that started the second it ended. See, I knew it. This is who I actually am. That one sentence did more work than the behavior ever could. This season, we've been living in the new ground, the territory you fought to reach, where the shift was real and something genuinely changed. But the new identity, it's still tender. The old one, it's patient. Today, we go to the moment after the slip, not the slip itself, the courtroom that opens up inside you the second it's over. You know the pattern. You had a real stretch of operating differently. You had better boundaries. You were less reactive. More like the person you've been becoming. Then something happened. A familiar trigger, an old dynamic. And you did the thing you said you were done doing. That's not the problem I want to name today. The problem is what came next. That 45-minute mental trial, evidence gathering, that quiet, efficient process of using one data point to rewrite a whole body of work. At the identity level, that's not accountability. It's a mechanism. The old identity doesn't have to defeat you in the moment. It just has to own the story afterward. If it can get you to build a case for why nothing has actually changed, it wins without a fight. You hand it a victory in the debrief. I did this for years. I'd have a real moment of growth, something I could feel was different, and I'd slip. Old avoidance of something I knew needed to be said, an old way of shrinking in a room where I deserved to take up space. The behavior would last just a few minutes. That story I told about it afterward lasted weeks. I wasn't holding myself accountable. I was prosecuting myself. There's a difference most people never stop to name. Accountability says, it happened, and I want to understand why. The prosecution says that happened, and that means that's who you are. Accountability is upstream. Prosecution is a sentence. The old identity knows that. It didn't need to run the show. It just needed me to keep calling it me. Notice if you're sitting with a moment right now, perhaps a recent one. How quickly did the story form? That speed? It's not honesty. It's just a trained response. The relapse isn't proof. It's just data. And data doesn't come with a sentence attached. The shift doesn't look like not slipping. That's not what the other side is. The shift looks like this. You do that thing, that old behavior or reaction, and you catch it. It might not be during the event. It might be after. And instead of the 45-minute trial, you have a 5-minute conversation with yourself. Not a gentle one, an honest one. Here's what I know about it now that I didn't know before. I'm going to move forward. Not forward like it didn't happen. Forward acknowledging that it happened, but it doesn't get to rewrite everything that came before. The person operating from a new identity isn't someone who never defaults back. They're someone who refuses to let the default become the definition. The behavior was old. The story told about it, that's the part that finally changed. Carry this with you today. The last time you slipped into an old pattern, what was the first thing you told yourself it meant about you? That sentence, not the behavior, that's where the work is. If you've been doing real work on your identity and something has genuinely shifted, but there's that one moment back in the old pattern that has you questioning all of it, that's something to look at in your no-cost identity clarity call. The story you build in the absence of a mirror, it's rarely accurate. You'll find a link in the show notes. Tomorrow, we're going somewhere that gets even less airtime. What happens when the people around you are more comfortable with who you used to be than with who you're becoming? The relationships built on the old identity and what they do when the new one shows up. You did the work. One moment doesn't undo that. You are not the relapse. You're the person deciding what it means. With strength and heart, I'm Sean Michael. Stay close. Thanks for tuning in to Daily Power Boost. Ignite your potential. Remember, transformation starts with action. So take today's insight, make it your own, and awaken your inner potential. Because remember, greatness begins within. Catch you tomorrow for your next Power Boost.